the shadow of the Andromeda Galaxy, an unassuming planet named Tehran harbored a secret that could determine the fate of the universe. The planet was a hub of trade and technology, bustling with diverse species from across the stars. Its sprawling metropolises rose into the atmosphere, while untamed wilderness stretched endlessly beyond. Few knew that beneath this vibrant world lay an ancient enigma, the celestial beacon. A relic from a civilization long extinct, the beacon had slumbered silently for millennia. Until now. Captain Mira Solis of the Galactic Federation stood on the bridge of her starship, the Eclipse Nova. The faint hum of the ship's engines was a soothing constant amidst the tension that had gripped the crew. Mira's sharp eyes scanned the latest mission briefing, but her focus broke as a soft chime signaled an incoming priority message. The holographic interface flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Kavar. "Help me." "Captain Solis," the Admiral said, his voice heavy with urgency. "We've intercepted a signal from the celestial beacon on Tehran. It's a distress call, but unlike anything we've encountered before. The Federation's top analysts believe this could be tied to the precursors." Mira felt a chill run down her spine. The precursors were more legend than fact. Beings who had once ruled the galaxy with technology far beyond modern understanding. Some believed they had ascended to another plane of existence, while others thought they had perished in a catastrophic event. If the beacon was active, it could mean the return of a threat beyond imagining. "Understood, Admiral," Mira replied, her voice steady. "We'll set a course for Tehran immediately." The Eclipse Nova was a sleek vessel, equipped with the latest in Federation technology. Its crew was hand-picked for their skill and loyalty, a team Mira trusted with her life. She gathered them in the central briefing room as the ship hurtled through hyperspace toward Tehran. Holographic projections of the beacon and the surrounding area illuminated the room. "We've received a signal from the celestial beacon," Mira began, her tone commanding. "It's broadcasting a message across multiple spectrums, including frequencies we've never seen before. Our mission is to investigate the source, decipher the message, and determine if it poses a threat to the Federation." Dr. Ilara Voss, the ship's xenologist and an expert in ancient civilizations, leaned forward with evident interest. "The beacon is a marvel of precursor engineering. If it's active, it could be transmitting vital information. But there's also a chance it's a warning." Lieutenant Kane Draven, the ship's tactical officer, crossed his arms. "Or a trap. Last time we dealt with ancient tech, it nearly wiped out an entire fleet." Mira nodded, acknowledging both perspectives. "That's why we'll approach with caution. We're walking into the unknown. But we've faced danger before. Stay sharp." The crew dispersed to prepare for the mission. Mira lingered, staring at the projection of the beacon. A sense of foreboding gnawed at her, but she pushed it aside. Whatever awaited them on Tehran, they would face it together. The descent to Tehran was uneventful, but the atmosphere buzzed with tension. The Eclipse Nova landed in a secure zone near the excavation site housing the beacon. As Mira and her team stepped onto the planet's surface, they were greeted by a mix of high-tech facilities and untouched wilderness. The Federation's research outpost stood near the entrance to an underground chamber where the beacon resided. Dr. Kalen Arvid, the head researcher, met the team at the site. His excitement was palpable as he led them through the winding corridors that descended into the depths of the planet. "You're about to witness history," he said, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "The beacon's activation has baffled our scientists. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." When they reached the chamber, Mira's breath caught in her throat. The celestial beacon was a towering structure of crystalline spires, pulsating with faint rhythmic light. Symbols and glyphs of unknown origin adorned its surface, glowing softly in hues of blue and gold. The air thrummed with energy, a tangible presence that seemed to vibrate through her very being. Dr. Voss activated her scanning device, her eyes widening as she analyzed the readings. "This isn't just a distress signal," she murmured. "It's a message, a call for aid, transmitted across dimensions." Before Mira could respond, the beacon's light intensified, flooding the chamber with a blinding radiance. A low hum resonated, growing into a chorus of alien voices, speaking in a language both incomprehensible and eerily familiar. The team's translators struggled to parse the message, but fragments began to emerge. "The void consumes, champions needed." Mira's heart raced as the meaning became clear. The precursors had foreseen a cataclysmic event, the emergence of an entity known as the Void. It was a force that devoured entire galaxies, leaving nothing in its wake. And now, the beacon had chosen them to stand against it. "This isn't just a call for help," Mira said, her voice firm despite the enormity of the revelation. "It's a summons. We've been chosen to fight back." As the light subsided, the beacon revealed a holographic map of the galaxy. Key locations were marked, each representing ancient artifacts and knowledge needed to combat the Void. The team's mission was clear: retrieve these artifacts and unite the galaxy against an existential threat. Dr. Voss studied the map intently. "These artifacts, if they're what I think they are, they could be weapons, energy sources, or even knowledge that surpasses our understanding. But retrieving them won't be easy." Ane's expression darkened. "If the precursors went to such lengths to hide them, there's bound to be something dangerous guarding each one." Mira nodded. "Then we'll need to prepare for anything. Let's start with the closest location on the map. We'll gather what we can and take it one step at a time." Mira's mind responded to everything. Considering the reality of traveling that far, it made her hesitate. The crew returned to the Eclipse Nova, their minds racing with the weight of their discovery. As the ship ascended into orbit, Mira stared out at the planet below. The beacon's message was a call to action, but it was also a stark reminder of the stakes. The galaxy's survival hung in the balance, and she couldn't afford to fail. In the quiet of her quarters, Mira replayed the beacon's message in her mind. The Void was coming, and it would stop at nothing to consume everything in its path. But if the precursors believed the galaxy could fight back, then so would she. Determination burned within her as she prepared for the journey ahead. The discovery of the beacon was only the beginning. The path forward would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but it was a path they had to take. For the first time in her life, Mira felt the weight of an entire galaxy on her shoulders. And yet, she knew they were not alone. The beacon's light had reached across the stars, summoning allies and champions from every corner of the cosmos. Together, they would face the darkness and defy the Void. The journey had begun. Tehran's bustling trade hubs and sprawling wilderness belied the true significance of what lay beneath its surface. Hidden deep within the planet's crust was the celestial beacon, a towering relic of unimaginable age. It had remained dormant for millennia, shrouded in mystery and forgotten by time, until its sudden activation sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Eclipse Nova landed gracefully in a secured zone near the research outpost that surrounded the beacon's excavation site. Captain Mira Solis stepped onto Tehran's surface, her boots sinking slightly into the damp, loamy soil. The air was crisp, laced with the faint hum of distant machinery as scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to study the artifact. Mira was flanked by her trusted crew, Dr. Alara Voss, an expert in xenolinguistics and ancient civilizations, and Lieutenant Kane Draven, a seasoned tactical officer whose instincts had saved them more times than Mira cared to count. Dr. Kalen Arvid, the head researcher at the site, greeted them with unbridled enthusiasm. He was a wiry man with sharp features and eyes that seemed perpetually wide with curiosity. "Captain Solis," he said, extending a hand. "You're just in time. The beacon's activity has been increasing exponentially. We're picking up signals across multiple frequencies, and some of them are, well, they're beyond anything we've encountered before." "What do you mean?" Mira asked, falling into step beside him as he led them toward the excavation site. Jack sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. Dr. Arvid's voice lowered, as if the very air around them might overhear. "Some of the frequencies don't adhere to known physical laws. They're, for lack of a better term, dimensional. It's as though the beacon is reaching out not just across space, but across realities." Valera's eyes lit up with fascination. "If that's true, then this isn't just a relic. It's a gateway, or at least a beacon to one. The precursors might have used it to communicate with, well, who knows what." Kane's expression remained skeptical. "Let's hope they were sending friendly messages." The group descended into the underground chamber, their footsteps echoing in the vast, dimly lit space. The air grew cooler and heavier as they approached the heart of the excavation. Finally, they stepped into the main chamber, and there it was, the celestial beacon. The structure towered above them, crystalline spires reaching toward the cavern's ceiling. Pulsing waves of light moved rhythmically across its surface, illuminating intricate glyphs and symbols that glowed faintly in shades of blue and gold. It was as if the beacon itself were alive, breathing in some alien rhythm. Ilara activated her scanning device, her brow furrowing as streams of data flooded the display. This isn't just a machine. It's more like a symbiotic organism. The energy readings suggest it's interacting with the environment on a molecular level. Before anyone could respond, the beacon's light intensified, filling the chamber with a blinding radiance. A low hum grew into a resonant vibration that seemed to echo in their very bones. The glyphs on its surface shifted and flowed, rearranging themselves as if forming new patterns. And then came the voices. At first they were indistinct, a cacophony of overlapping whispers, but slowly they coalesced into a single, resonant tone that spoke in a language both incomprehensible and eerily familiar. Mira's translator struggled to keep up, spitting out fragments of meaning. "The void consumes, champions needed." Ilara stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's trying to communicate. The precursors must have programmed it to activate in response to a specific event. But what event?" "The void," Mira said, her voice steady despite the unease creeping into her chest. "Whatever it is, the precursors saw it as a threat, and they're calling for help." "The exercises are As the beacon's light dimmed, a holographic projection materialized above its spires. It was a map of the galaxy, but unlike any they had seen before. Key locations were marked with pulsing symbols, each one accompanied by streams of incomprehensible data. Ilara's scanner buzzed as she attempted to decode it. "These markers," she said, "are pointing to sites scattered across the galaxy. If I'm reading this correctly, they correspond to locations of ancient precursor artifacts, weapons, knowledge, maybe even technology capable of combating this void." Kane's jaw tightened. "So we're supposed to just wander the galaxy, hoping to find these artifacts before whatever this void is wipes us all out?" "Not hope," Mira said, her tone resolute. "We will find them. The precursors left us a path. It's up to us to follow it." Dr. Arvid, who had been silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. "Captain, there's something else. The beacon's activation hasn't gone unnoticed. We've detected multiple ships entering Terran's orbit. Some of them don't match any known configurations." Mira's mind raced. The galaxy was vast and filled with factions. some of whom would do anything to claim the beacon's power for themselves. If hostile forces were already converging, their mission had just become infinitely more complicated. Mira, Kane, coordinate with the outpost defense teams. Make sure we're prepared for any potential threats, Mira ordered. Turning to Ilara, she added, I want a full analysis of the map and its markers. Prioritize any sites within our immediate reach. Both officers nodded, their expressions mirroring her determination. The crew returned to the Eclipse Nova under heightened alert. As they ascended into orbit, Mira stood on the bridge, gazing out at the planet below. Terran's surface glowed faintly in the light of its twin moons, a deceptively serene view considering the storm brewing around them. Mira lit her shell and pulled out a bottle of dry sumetic to clear her head. In the days that followed, the Eclipse Nova became a hive of activity. Ilara worked tirelessly to decipher the data from the beacon, her workstation cluttered with holographic projections and streams of alien code. Kane drilled the crew in combat simulations, preparing them for encounters with both known and unknown adversaries. Despite the frenetic pace, Mira found moments of quiet to reflect on the weight of their mission. She often replayed the beacon's message in her mind, the fragmented phrases echoing like a distant drumbeat. The void was coming, and it was up to them to stand against it. One evening, as the ship cruised through hyperspace toward the first marker on the map, Mira joined Ilara in the observation lounge. The stars streaked past the viewport in brilliant lines of light, a mesmerizing display that always reminded Mira of the vastness of their galaxy. You look like you haven't slept in days, Mira said, offering a faint smile as she sat beside Ilara. Ilara chuckled, running a hand through her disheveled hair. Sleep feels like a luxury we can't afford right now, but I've made progress. The first marker is on a planet in the Trionis system. It's uncharted, but based on the beacon's data, it's the site of a precursor vault. Mira's expression grew thoughtful. A vault implies something worth protecting, or something dangerous. So he was protecting her. Probably both, Ilara admitted. But whatever's there, it's important. The beacon wouldn't have marked it otherwise. As the Trionic system loomed closer, Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose. The discovery of the beacon had set them on a path they could never have anticipated. The journey ahead would test their courage, their ingenuity, and their trust in one another. But for the sake of the galaxy, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The void was coming, but the Eclipse Nova emerged from hyperspace with the smooth precision of a well-tuned vessel. Before them stretched the Trionis system, its binary stars casting a radiant glow across the surrounding planetary bodies. The first marker on the celestial beacon's map was here, on an uncharted planet veiled in clouds of swirling green and blue. From orbit, the world appeared serene, almost inviting. But Mira knew better than to trust appearances. "Status report," Mira commanded, her voice sharp but steady. Lieutenant Kane Draven checked his console. Orbit established, no sign of hostile activity in the immediate vicinity, but the planet's atmosphere is dense with electromagnetic interference. Long-range scans are unreliable. Dr. Ilara Voss leaned over her terminal, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I'm picking up faint energy signatures matching precursor technology. They're concentrated in a region near the equator. If the map's data is accurate, that's where we'll find the vault." "Prepare the landing shuttle," Mira said. "Draven, Voss, you're with me. Let's see what's waiting for us down there." The shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, buffeted by turbulent winds and flashes of green lightning that illuminated the swirling clouds. Mira gripped the armrest of her seat, her eyes scanning the viewport for any sign of danger. The planet's surface came into view, a lush, untamed mountains and shimmering rivers. Her eyes settled on the small granite banks, petrified the little river spanning the middle. "Landing zone spotted," Draven announced. He guided the shuttle toward a clearing near the coordinates marked by the beacon's map. The craft touched down with a soft thud, and the team quickly donned their gear. The air outside was thick and humid, carrying the sense of alien flora. Towering trees with bioluminescent leaves cast an ethereal glow over the jungle, their light mingling with the occasional flicker of distant lightning. The atmosphere was alive with the sounds of unseen creatures, their calls echoing through the dense foliage. "Stay alert," Mira cautioned, her hand resting on the hilt of her energy blade. "We don't know what kind of wildlife we're dealing with here." The team moved cautiously through the jungle, following the readings on Ilara's scanner. The terrain was treacherous, with thick vines and hidden pools of water complicating their progress. Despite the challenges, Mira felt a growing sense of anticipation. They were close. After hours of trekking, they arrived at the source of the energy signatures, a massive structure carved into the side of a cliff. The vault's entrance was flanked by towering statues, their features weathered by time but still exuding an aura of authority. Glyphs similar to those on the beacon adorned the statues and the archway leading into the vault. "This is it," Ilara said, her voice tinged with awe. "A precursor vault, untouched for millennia." "Let's hope it stays that way," Draven muttered, his weapon at the ready. Mira approached the entrance, her heart pounding. As she stepped closer, the glyphs began to glow, their light spreading across the surface of the archway. A low hum filled the air, growing louder until it culminated in a resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. The doors of the vault slid open with a smoothness that belied their immense weight. The team stepped inside, their lights casting long shadows on the walls of the vault's interior. The air was cool and dry, carrying a faint metallic tang. The chamber they entered was vast, its ceiling lost in darkness. Rows of crystalline pillars lined the space, each one pulsing with a faint inner light. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested a small, intricately carved artifact. "This must be what the beacon led us to," Ilara said, her eyes fixed on the artifact. She moved toward it, her scanner in hand. "The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever this is, it's immensely powerful." Mira held up a hand to stop her. "Wait, this is too easy. Draven, scan the area for traps." Draven nodded and activated his scanner, sweeping it across the chamber. His expression darkened as the device emitted a series of warning tones. "There's an active defense system, motion string of turrets, energy fields, and something else. The readings are erratic, like it's partially cloaked." Before Mira could respond, the room came alive. The crystalline pillars flared with light, and the hum of the vault grew into a deafening roar. From the walls emerged mechanical constructs, their forms sleek and menacing. They moved with unnerving precision, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Defensive drones," Draven said, raising his weapon. "We've got company." "Ilara, get to the artifact and figure out how to disable the defenses," Mira ordered. "Draven and I will cover you." Ilara nodded and sprinted toward the pedestal, her scanner in one hand and a data pad in the other. Mira and Draven took up defensive positions, their weapons blazing as they fought off the advancing drones. The constructs were relentless, their attacks precise and coordinated. Mira's energy blade cut through one with a satisfying crackle, but for every drone they destroyed, another seemed to take its place. Ilara reached the pedestal and began analyzing the artifact. The glyphs on its surface shifted and glowed as she worked, responding to her touch. "The artifact's linked to the vault's systems," she called out. "If I can interface with it, I might be able to shut everything down." Ilara moaned. "Do it fast," Mira shouted, her blade slicing through another drone. "We're running out of time." Ilara's fingers flew across her data pad as she deciphered the artifact's commands. The glyphs flared brighter, and the drones paused for a brief moment, before resuming their attack with renewed vigor. "I've almost got it," Ilara said, sweat dripping down her brow. "Just a few more seconds." A drone lunged toward her, its bladed appendage gleaming. Mira moved instinctively, throwing herself between Ilara and the attacker. The blade grazed her armor, but she managed to destroy the drone with a swift strike. "You're cutting it close, Ilara," Mira said, her voice strained. "Done," Ilara exclaimed. She pressed a final command, and the artifact emitted a pulse of light that swept through the chamber. The drones froze in place, their lights dimming before they collapsed to the ground. The hum of the vault subsided, leaving an eerie silence. Mira helped Ilara to her feet, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "Good work. Let's secure the artifact and get out of here." As Ilara carefully removed the artifact from the pedestal, the vault seemed to shudder. The walls trembled, and dust rained down from the ceiling. "The vault's destabilizing," Draven said. "We need to move. Now." The team raced back through the jungle, the artifact safely secured in Ilara's pack. They reached the shuttle just as the ground beneath the vault gave way, collapsing into a chasm that swallowed the structure whole. Mira watched as the dust settled, her thoughts already turning to the next step in their journey. The discovery of the artifact was a victory, but it was only the beginning. The beacon's map marked many more locations, each one a potential key to combating the void. As the Eclipse Nova ascended into orbit, Mira knew the road ahead would be fraught with danger. But she also knew they had no choice but to press on. The galaxy's fate depended on it.